But at first, relief on the way for some Houstonians.
$1 million in CARES Act money to help. Nonprofit Baker Ripley will take up to $1.5 million of those dollars to run the direct assistance program. Officials there think that $1,200 payment will go out in the form of checks. They're still working with the city to finalize eligibility criteria and distribution logistics by the end of this week. Their community relations manager told me they'll start by helping people who've already applied.
Everybody, the Biden administration has just made a huge announcement. President Biden and the federal government have agreed to distribute billions of dollars to lower energy costs for millions of people. Hundreds of dollars in extra relief cash can actually be claimed right now. And the Biden administration, hundreds of dollars in extra relief cash can actually be claimed right now. Here's some big news, folks. The Biden administration is now distributing up to $4.5 billion in federal assistance to help so many low-income Americans. This comes as they brace for another season of sky-high energy cost. Now, the funds for the low-income home energy assistance program stem from regular appropriations by Congress. Additional emergency funding lawmakers included in September's continuing resolution and $100 million from the bipartisan infrastructure law that passed last year. And according to the Department of Health and Human Services, folks, the program's funds are distributed to states, which use the money to help people pay their home, and also cooling costs, settle arrears, and make home energy repairs to lower their utility bills in the future. So the agency has said that more than 5 million households were served with stimulus payments this past year. Advocates including Mark Wolf, executive director of the National Energy and Assistance Directors Associations, have said that the cost of home energy this winter is at the highest level in more than 15 years. He also stated that while the additional funding will help to offset at least some of the increase in home energy prices this winter, I'm concerned that the additional funding for the program will not provide the states with sufficient flexibility to help families address higher prices. Now, folks, this could be an issue to many Americans all across the nation. We all know that stimulus payments are very, very important. And according to an Energy Information Administration report last month, the cost of heating for a home with natural gas this winter is expected to increase in oil prices by about 20% on average. That's above $930. So those who heat with oil can expect to pay 27% more, bringing their bill to $2,300 for the season. Electrical heat costs are also projected to rise 10% to $1,400, while heating costs with propane is expected to cost 5% more, with the bill hitting $1,600.88. Now, these increases come on top of hefty hikes like last winter. So the Department of Energy announced on Wednesday that it is allocating nearly $9 billion more to states and tribes for home efficiency programs under the Inflation Reduction Act, which passed in August. According to a White House fact sheet distributed this week, the new rebate program could help up to 1.6 million households upgrade their homes and apartments to lower energy bills, including this by up to 500,000 heat pumps and conducting deep building retrofits through insulation and electrical wings. So everybody, this on top of the estimated 700,000 homes that will be weatherized with the expanded Weatherization Assistance Program. Under the bipartisan infrastructure law, states can now begin planning programs to distribute the Inflation Reduction Act, which helps fund to many families. The Federal Reserve also said today that it was raising its short-term borrowing rate by another 0.75% to slow key areas of the economy and tame inflation. That's at a 40-year high, in fact. The central bank said its new target range is 3.75 to 4%. It's the highest level since 2008 in January. And the aggressive move is the latest in a string of borrowing cost increases imposed by the Fed in recent months as it tries to just slash prices increases by cooling the economy and choking off demand. The approach, however, risks tipping the U.S. into recession and putting millions of people out of work. The fourth rate hike of 2022 arrives less than a week before the midterm elections, and federal officials even said that in a statement, the committee anticipates the ongoing increases in the target range will be appropriate in order to attain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to 2% over time. Data on consumer prices released last month just showed that costs rose 0.4% on a seasonally adjusted basis in September. It delayed efforts and defied efforts to bring prices down. So overall, we all know that and realize that President Biden should actually do more for the American people and send out stimulus payments. If President Biden cannot do something now, he won't be able to do something later in the future. And we all know that right now, President Biden must step up to the plate and help out the people that are in need of stimulus payments. It's just the facts, folks. President Biden has to do something about this. If he doesn't, Americans are in big trouble.
Do you know anybody who wants us to get rid of the change we made on prescription drug prices and raise prices again? Do you know anybody who wants us to walk away from building those roads and bridges and the internet and so on? I don't know. I think that the problem is the major piece of legislation we passed, and some of it bipartisan, takes time to be recognized. For example, you got over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure money, but not that many spades have been put in the ground. It's taking time. For example, I was on the phone.
Breaking news, everybody, for all Social Security recipients. It has been announced that millions of Social Security beneficiaries could see a big benefit increase soon. Congress is working on some new changes for monthly benefits, and Social Security recipients are likely in for another large COLA increase in 2023, and it could even be bigger than last year's. A recent analysis from the Nonprofit Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget found the increase next year could be as high as 10.8% if inflation continues at its current pace. If inflation cools to the target rate of 0.2% a month, then checks could increase 7.9%. Inflation has remained high all year, with prices increasing 8.6%. In May, Fortune noted, as a result, the Social Security benefits will likely rise somewhere in the middle of those figures, potentially around 8.8%. That would still be the fourth highest COLA bump ever. And according to reports by CBS News, the nonprofit Senior Citizens League previously estimated an increase of 8.6% next year. Social Security recipients got a high 5.9% cost of living increase in 2022, the biggest in decades. The hikes are meant to help seniors and other Social Security beneficiaries keep pace with rising prices, but the increases will not arrive until next year, even though inflation is high right now. The Social Security Administration typically announces the annual COLA increase in October, and it takes effect in January. Historically, the raises haven't done a good job of keeping up with the actual cost that seniors have faced. In fact, even with annual increases, benefits have lost roughly 40% of their buying power since 2000. Unfortunately, even if seniors get a substantial raise this year, it's likely going to be wiped out by increased housing costs. Medicare expenses have also been rising steadily, further eroding the ability for cost of living increases to help recipients keep up with rising prices elsewhere. Before last year's increase, beneficiaries have been dealing with years' worth of much smaller hikes, 3 times since 2010. Recipients didn't get any bump at all thanks to low inflation. In the 2021 COLA was just 1.3%. And there are some lawmakers that have a plan to boost Social Security payments by $2,400 per recipient annually, while also shoring up the program financially. The Social Security Expansion Act is going to be put forward by Democratic Representative Peter DeFazio and Bernie Sanders. The plan comes after the Social Security Administration said Americans will stop receiving their Social Security benefits in roughly 13 years if Americans don't do something about it.